Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. So, bunch of stuff to go through. I'll start with this one just because it's technically a piece of news I covered like 2 weeks ago. But it actually turns out that the initial, interpretation that I think we all assumed was maybe wrong, which was that people initially reading that like, oh, it says like fresh adventures for Korra. But everyone was like, but it's probably just Turf Wars and like Ruins of the Empire coming to Webtoon, which is part of it. But now you can see June 26th on Twitter, Dark Horse post this headline from comicbook.com 2 weeks late as well. Legend of Korra and Plants vs. Zombies to launch Webtoon exclusive content. And they talk about their new collaboration with Webtoon. So you go into this article and it's quite similar to the other articles. It came out 2 days, I think, after the initial coverage of this kind of came out. Now, I do think, unfortunately, it's a situation where like some of the initial articles from like Polygon are probably some of the worst coverage of this, whereas this one kind of seems to maybe be the best coverage of it. But anyway, the idea is that, of course, Webtoon have this collaboration with Dark Horse. Webtoon already has most of the Avatar comics up on their platform, just the already existing comics in their own format. Now they're kind of expanding this deal, as you can see by the fact that Webtoon are going to be getting a bunch of the different franchises that Dark Horse have. Plants vs. Zombies, Korra, Critical Role, Witcher, Cyberpunk. But interestingly, Korra is the only one here, at least initially, that says new tales from Legend of Korra. But everyone was just kind of like, does it actually mean like new content, or is it just saying that like two webtoons, Turf Wars and Ruins of the Empire, are new tales for that platform? Because they're not trying to kind of like undervalue this deal for them in their format, so the stuff is new to them, but it's not new to people who've read the comics already. And there's that kind of underlying kind of thing throughout this whole thing of like, because it's done in PR speak and not like in a ton of detail, what they specifically mean is rather unclear, because they never refer to Turf Wars or Ruins of the Empire by name, and they never give us a title for what this apparent new content is actually going to be. So there's still some vagueness to this, but we'll get into the second half in just a minute. They do say the Korra stuff, in addition to the other stuff, is going to be scheduled for the latter half of 2025. Specific launch dates to be announced. There will be further announcements about this, but it means that at the very least, some sort of a Webtoon thing associated with Korra is going to be hitting at some point this year. Now, based on the fact that the image that they associated with this for Korra is a Turf Wars cover, my interpretation of this is that at the very least, Turf Wars is going to start Legend of Korra comics on the Webtoon platform at some point this year. Now, they might do a thing where actually Turf Wars rolls out a bit earlier and that transitions us into our new content. But it's still a decent amount of content to get through. 2 full, 3-part trilogies and so on. But again, that's the problem here, because of the way like they're wording this. Like, I don't think Webtoons even overly breaks down like the promise to search the rift into those books by names. They are just kind of like the episodes of the comics, and you can sort of see that there's a break between the books, but like they just word it as these are Avatar The Last Airbender Webtoons comics, and these are going to be Legend of Korra Webtoons comics that are not going to be overly titled like the other ones are, which is part of the weirdness of this and why it's not particularly helpful. But that's definitely Turf Wars art. Then this is where it gets into sort of slightly newer information. You can see here the expanded partnership between Webtoon and Dark Horse Comics is a significant development for digital comic fans. Again, Dark Horse don't have a digital platform anymore. Dark Horse Digital is now gone. So this partnership being now expanded is a sort of notable thing, because it gives Dark Horse this kind of more exclusive digital platform to work with, and then Webtoons, of course, gets access to the pretty big licenses that Dark Horse have. So it is a a beneficial deal for both parties. We'll get into the kind of missing information from this in just a second, but what it says is, for fans of Nickelodeon's animated hit, Legend of Korra, this collaboration means a well-deserved and highly anticipated continuation of Avatar Korra's journey, with exclusive new stories crafted specifically for Webtoon. At least to me, if that's correct, there is no other way to interpret all those words added together other than that is new original content coming to Webtoons. Comic pages, stories that we have never seen before that will come to Webtoons first. Because it says it's exclusive to Webtoons, new stories, crafted specifically for Webtoons, as in their vertical scroll format, which of course none of the Avatar or Korra comics so far have been crafted for that format. They've been reformatted for that format, but never crafted specifically. So multiple words there only fit for brand new content. And I don't think there's any other real way to read it. But then even the second line here is kind of interesting, because it's like, returning to Legend of Korra years after the series ended aims to draw a new generation of readers into the world of bending and spiritual exploration, while also giving a fresh perspective for longtime fans. Now there's some weirdness here in terms of, like, are they talking in universe, or I think maybe this is more meant to be out of universe. So like Legend of Korra ended in 2014 and this is the comics. And is that what they're talking about? Or are they saying that the years after the comic series ended? I don't think so. It's one of those ones where I'm inclined to maybe just let me just dismiss that, because it's so unspecific. But it's like, okay, it's a continuation type thing. It still makes me maybe go back to the previous line and go like, are you sure that's what that exactly means? Are you absolutely sure? Because the Webtoon, like, this is the official press release, again, from like the 10th, so 2 days before that comic website. And this was the way most other websites kind of promoted this. Expand the partnership, of course. It does say new tales of Legend of Korra, but then it also says newly formatted for the format. Second half of 2025 is when it will roll out. Yeah, new stuff. But then it gets a little bit more specific here, and it's like, Legend of Korra, vertical scrolling format exclusive to Webtoon. I was like, okay, it's a continuation of the animated series, continuing adventures, but like, that describes Turf Wars. So I also come out of this and I'm just like, if the press release of this information doesn't make it like super clear what's happening, where did comicbook.com get this line from? Like, it does say, like, fresh stories, like, yeah, what is it, new tales, fresh stories or whatever. But it's so unclear. Like, this is a big announcement. If Webtoons are getting new original Korra comics, it should be worded like that, I think, in the press release a little bit clearer. Now, obviously, this is an early-ish announcement. They're bundling a bunch of stuff together, and like, they're not really, like, I don't think that any of this is new art kind of for any of these franchises. So everything's a little bit kind of hidden to be announced later, of course. But the Korra section in particular is weird because you use that image, which is already existing comics, but then you do word it as if there's new content, but you never make it clear what the deal is between, like, the difference between, like, the already existing comics and when they're coming, and then what way you're going to work the original new content that you have, in the sense that, like, who's the artist, who is the writer going to be, what's the release schedule or format going to be. Notably, if there is original content for Korra, they don't mention like the reverse of this deal of like, okay, Webtoons have come in later. They get access to all the Dark Horse stuff that they've already done on their platform. They get to put it up there. Do Dark Horse get to print these exclusive digital comics after like a certain exclusivity period? I'm assuming that's part of the deal, because it'd be really one-sided if that's not the case, and it just remains digital exclusive comics. I assume they will be keeping that in mind with the Webtoons format, is that like it will still be done in a way where it's absolutely printable in a book later on down the line. I can't imagine Dark Horse agreeing to sort of like let Webtoons kind of do their own exclusive stuff and they basically really get nothing themselves out of this. I think they just don't want to kind of ruin the Webtoon announcement by kind of effectively announcing a book as well. And that will come a little bit later. That'll be extra information that happens when they go into more detail on this. Now, what might we get more details on what's happening here? The timing feels pretty clear that like it's the month before San Diego Comic-Con. Webtoon have actually been at the last couple of publishing panels, though they haven't really had much to say for themselves at any of them as far as we've been aware. I assume if there's another publishing panel this year for next month for Comic-Con at San Diego, they're going to be there as well, because they have this announcement. They actually have something to talk about. That makes for a pretty big announcement, I think, that we're expecting Dark Horse to announce their own books, because of course we need a one-shot comic for Korra, one-shot comic for ATLA. From the press release, there's a comic miniseries they have to announce. Is that at all related to this? I don't know. But now Webtoon, also kind of connected into that, have their own original content to talk about. And they can go over, you know, what artist they have, what writer they have, what the format is actually going to be. And with Dark Horse in the same room as them, they can discuss, you know, like, is it actually going to be printed in a physical format? What's the timing going to be like on that stuff? Might be stuff we get later on down the line, but certainly more information on this just to make it more clear, because this is pretty bad in terms of actually like announcing new Korra content. The fact that there's so many doubts and questions that come into play because it's not worded super clear across all these different articles at all. So it's exciting if it means what I think we think it means. The comicbook.com article here in particular, like the wording here that I have highlighted is clear, but I'm also kind of like, why do none of the other articles like mention it as clearly as this? Again, we're just probably waiting for another announcement, because again, they don't really highlight the specific details of a lot of the other stuff. And there is just some weirdness to it. It continues the Avatar trend, of course, of making a relatively big announcement, new Korra comics, potentially big new Korra comics, with no relevant visual. So, I don't know. Frustrating, but it seems to be big-ish, notable news. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We'll get into other information here. I'm going to really rapid fire through these next two ones because I am not familiar at all with the game that this collab is happening in. So Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny is adding Katara to its character group. It's a collab with, I think it's a mobile game. It might be just a normal game, but either way, it's some sort of a Nickelodeon kind of RPG style game, and Katara is going to be added to it. I don't think the game is out yet. I think I'm a little bit past caring a lot about these kind of just Nickelodeon collab kind of type things all that much, because this is probably not a game I'm really going to play, especially like if it's only Katara that's kind of being added in and that sort of thing. But hey, if you are interested, again, that's the idea. Nickelodeon and the Dice of Destiny, Katara is going to be in it. The other thing is Heroes vs. Hordes, which is a mobile game, I believe. They also have an Avatar collab. I know nothing about this game. I'm just highlighting this because it is another official collab that's actually happening. Aang, Sokka, Katara are being added to this game. This seems to be a very time-limited collab that they're doing, where like this is basically only active for this month. Again, I don't know anything about this. I'm just being like, hey, I'm being completionist on the news. It's a piece of news. If you know about this, look into it. That's it. I'm just highlighting it here. Next, I covered this. I did a live stream yesterday going over the preview chapters that we got for, at long last, Avatar Legends City of Echoes. So again, this book is out next month, July 22nd. It's the first Avatar Legends novel about Jin, set in Ba Sing Se, of course. We got preview pages. So Indigo here showed us the first 2 chapters, but then people discovered the Google Books preview, where we got the first 5 chapters basically, and you can also do the full book search. You can search the book for terms and basically look through most of the text if you type in the right things. So very interesting. I'll just link my live stream from yesterday down below, because I read through the 5 chapters that we have, talk about it with the chat and stuff like that. It's shaping up pretty well. I'm excited for it, and it's met the standards that I think we all had. This is not a situation where like we read the pages and it was like, oh, this doesn't look good. It's like, nope, looks like another really good Avatar book. Different feel to it, of course, because it's not about one of the avatars, but it's a situation, it's an environment we know, it's a character we know, but like a side to her, like seeing more of her that we're not familiar with. It's interesting, and I'm so excited to actually get my hands on the full book. And that's the big thing. I'm excited for new content, and the new novel series looks like it's going to be good as well. So that's that. On the other side of things, other video game news, we have Fortnite. Basically, this is just that for the next, I think, week or so, Avatar is back in Fortnite. The stuff is in the shop to buy, of course, but it's also back in this Fortnite Blitz Royale game mode, where the main way that this works is that you drop in. It's a sort of smaller scale map. I think it's like 40 players. You drop immediately. You have one of the bending items on you just by default. You can get other ones as you go through. But I think you have to more get lucky to get other ones. But you always drop with one random element, and it's really fun. It's just you get into the action really quickly. You get to use the elements. The other items are there as well, so you can use guns if you want. But it's a fun way to kind of bring back the fun of the Avatar event from a year and a bit ago. There's nothing inherently like new Avatar related. It is just kind of like a way for them to bring back the previous event in sort of small scale. But it speaks to the idea that, like, okay, Fortnite, giving one of their week-long Blitz Royales to Avatar, I'm guessing they probably will do more Avatar collabs that, like, include more, like, new skins at some point down the line. It's just nothing announced yet on that front. And then we'll wrap it up here with just that this book is out this week. So Dawn of Yang Chen, Chronicles of the Avatar, Book 3. Paperback version is out this week. It is just a reprint. The first time the first Yang Chen book is out in paperback, it's out now, just to make that really clear. And also that next week, the How to Draw Avatar The Last Airbender book is out. So if you are interested in one of those more kind of like kids how to draw books, the Avatar one is out next week. So that's most everything. But again, the main event news topic is definitely this, the rather confusing announcement of original Korra content for Webtoons, which I'm pretty sure is what's happening here, because there's no other way to read this line other than what it is. But wow, the trend of some of these announcements for Avatar and Korra just not being clear continues. I really hope they give clarification on this at San Diego Comic-Con, because I think we really, really, really need it. Korra fans need a big win like this. We definitely do. I hope this is the notable content that I think I want it to be. But either way, I'm just happy at the prospect that we might have a situation where we get potentially weekly Korra comic content for at least a certain period of time. That excites me as a Korra fan, and I think most people are going to be pretty excited when we finally hear proper details about this. But yeah, Other than that, we are still just kind of waiting for the schedule for San Diego Comic-Con to come out. It should be happening soonish. We're just still waiting. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.